Hi, I want to talk with you this week about the John's passages and how you'll be administering these passages to your student, your case study student. So I'm going to show you a couple things. I know some of you are copying the book from up here, and that's fine, but before you make the copies, make sure you watch this video because so you know what to make copies of. So what you want to do is you just gave these word lists to the students, and you should have found the level that they were last independent on. So you would find their independent level by looking at the boxes on the bottom of the word list score sheet. And then after their independent level, it would go to instructional level. And so you want to look at their word list score sheets and see the last level that they were independent. For example, were they independent at a first grade level, a second grade level, and then you're going to start their passages at that level, at their last independent level. Okay, so for example, I'm looking on page 168 in John's, and this is the 10th edition I have right now. But on the page right here, this is a third grade list, and if your student, you can see that, the third grade list, right here it says list A with a number and then third grade list. So down at the bottom, sorry, it has a little box, the scoring guide, and here you want to see what was their last instructional level. Okay, so find the list they were instructional on, and then instead of looking for the list they were independent at, and if they were instructional last on this grade 3 list and then they scored independent on the grade 4 list, if they were, if it's late, if they were independent on the grade 3 list and then instructional on the grade 4 list, you're going to start their passages at a grade 3 level. Okay, so if they were instructional at this level, so then you go over and you're just doing Form A. There are other resources in this book like listening comprehension, and there's nonfiction comprehension, which are all great, but you're just going to do Form A for this class, okay? And it's great to have those other resources for the future, but you don't need to do them this week, okay? So you're going to look at Form A, and then because your student was last independent at a grade 3 level, you're going to go and print the grade 3 test. You can see that right in the corner here, it says grade 3, okay? So you're going to print that, and just to be safe, you should also copy a Form A for grade 2, for grade 3, for grade 4, and for grade 5. Not that you're going to give all of those assessments to the kids, but if you're in the room with them and they bomb the grade 3 and it's frustrational for them, you want to have that grade 2 ready to go. I had students that scored the DRA and they were independent at a 28, which is the end of second grade level, and then their comprehension on the Johns was at a first grade level. So it's just a different assessment, and there's no pictures, so it makes it harder for some students. So so I would just copy some extras just in case in Form A while you're testing. Okay, so for this test, what you're going to do is the students should have a passage in front of them. That's the student passage. Looks like these in this book. Okay, so in the spiral bound book, these passages will look like this. So find the passages and copy those ahead of time if you do not have the actual book. But then for this grade 3, and they're all the same, right here at the top, it says activating their background knowledge. So basically you're going to ask them, read the title to yourself, then tell me what you think will happen. And it tells you right there the prompt. Okay? And so this is The Hungry Bear. So the kid may say, oh, this book is going to be set in the woods and there's going to be a bear and he's going to be looking for food. He may have just slept through the winter and he's really hungry after he was hibernating. So, for example, that would be a kid with a high background knowledge because they know about hibernation. Low background knowledge, it would be the bear wants something to eat. This is going to be about him eating. That's lower. It doesn't really show that that kid knows that much about bears in general. So this is pretty subjective. See if they know, if they're using key vocabulary, if they know just important concepts, but it doesn't have to be too lengthy or wordy. All right, so you're going to have them read the passage, and as they read it, you're just going to write the word that they say over this, okay, on this page. If they say the busy bears, if they say bears right there instead of bees, you're just going to write bears on top, okay? Afterwards, you'll probably get a sense of how many errors the kids are making. Down here at the bottom is a little scoring guide, but I would just kind of get the idea of the total miscues. So you have an idea if you want to give them another passage that's harder or another passage that's easier. If they're total miscues, so there's miscues are right here on the side, and I wouldn't do this for you guys if you're sitting right in front of the kids. It may be too tricky, but there's miscues here in this column, and then these are called the significant miscues. If you want to do this, you can, but at this point it's probably confusing. So I would just focus on these miscues right here. That's what I usually do anyways. And then you're just going to, because these are actually the same miscues, but it's just noting if they are significant or not. So for this, put their total miscues, and then down here, decide if that total miscues for this passage, if they made one miscue, this is their independent level. If 2 to 4, this is their independent instructional level. 5, instructional. 6 to 9, instructional or frustrational. And so that being said, it says instructional or frustrational. You're going to ask the comprehension questions to get a better idea if it's their independent level or if it's their frustrational level. This is more subjective than the DRA. They really want you to take into account what you know about the reader and if you really felt like they understood it, or if they really didn't understand it, or if they needed some help to understand it more. So I'm going to explain the miscues really quickly. So there's 4 types of miscues here. Substitution would mean that they put a different word in the place of the word that was there. For example, for bees, they put bears. That's a substitution. For damp, they said dark. That's a substitution. Insertion would mean that they inserted a word. So the busy bees had been making honey all day in the woods. So if they inserted in the woods there, that would actually be 3 errors because in the woods is 3 words. So omission is if they leave a word out. A lot of times kids leave the prepositions out. So that would count against them. And then reversal would mean if they're switching letters. I'm trying to think of an example in this passage, but I don't know. I can't think of one, but if they have the letters in the different place for these words, okay? So, anyways, count those up, count the total miscues, place them in what level you think they are down here, okay? You don't need to do the norming percentiles or the oral reading rate if you don't. This is really just more about comprehension. So do this and then ask the comprehension questions, okay? And again, you can try this out, but you don't have to do that section if you don't want to. Okay, so then over here, you're going to use this to help you write their responses. But what is this story about? So basically, you're going to write what they say here. Okay, what is it about? and then check they get it if they get it correct. Okay. And then you can give them half points or whole points. So if they got it all correct, give them a check. If it's halfly correct, I don't know if that's a word, but then give them a half a point, okay, if you feel like they partially got it correct. All right. What have the bees been doing? Making honey. So they have the answers right there for you. If they don't say the exact words, that's fine. Use your judgment to see if it was correct or not. You just heard the story. So you're going to have them just ask these questions and just give them checks for them. If they're correct, half a point. And then down here, you're just going to write how many questions did they miss. And then right here for comprehension scoring guide, it tells you if they were independent or not, depending on how many they missed. So if they missed 0 to 1, independent, 1.5 to 2, independent or instructional, 2.5, instructional, etc., etc. So you want to use your judgment here to decide if they were independent or instructional on these, or frustrational. Again, there's some gray area in this assessment, and so if you feel like they didn't quite master that, you can go down to the second grade or to the lower one and give them that. Or if you felt like they did really well on this one, go ahead and go up and give them another one to see if they can also master that one independently. Okay, so usually when I give this assessment, I give about 2 or 3 in one sitting of these readings, and the kids are usually totally fine with it. And they're really short. It's a lot shorter than the DRA. It doesn't take very much time at all. They probably take about 10 minutes each at the most. Maybe it depends how old the kids are, but it doesn't take as long. So anyways, you could try, I would at least try 2 of them to see if you can get a gauge on their independent and instructional levels. So you don't need to go all the way up to frustrational, but definitely get an idea of where they're instructional and independent. Okay. So please let me know if you have any questions about these. I know it's a little tricky. It's hard for me. I'm trying to explain it as well as I can, but I may have missed something. So let me know if you have more questions about it. And again, all of these assessments, we don't expect you to do them perfectly, but it's just so that you can get an idea of what kind of assessments are out there for you to use on your kids, on your students, because 2 units of this class is actually an assessment class. So that's why there's so many assessments in this class. So we just want to get an idea of all the assessments available to you and how you can use them in the classroom. And I think this assessment is one of my favorites because it breaks down comprehension in such different ways. So for example, if you see on the side here, it talks about the different kinds of questions that you're asking the kids. And so these are, the F's are facts, the I is inference, the E is evaluation, and the V is vocabulary. So you can see a pattern in their reading. What do they need more support on? Do they need more support on evaluation, inference, or facts? And like I was saying, that one boy that I tested, he was about a 3rd grade level in a DRA, but then kinder in this because he couldn't remember any of the facts. His evaluative senses were great, and he always got full points for that, but he couldn't remember anything, any of the basic facts from the stories. So it's really interesting to see the patterns. And I know some psychologists at our Aspire are starting to use this assessment on the kids. So these 2 pages, they're not required, but it could help you to get a sense of the kids. So here is comprehension, and it might be interesting for you just to gauge here where the kids, the different parts of comprehension, were they weak or poor, or were they strong? And then over here, you don't have to fill this out, but I do usually, and it's just comprehension and what passages they were fluent on or not, what passages they were independent or frustrational on. So again, these are optional, but just so that you know that they're there. Okay. So these are really helpful too, if you're in the upper grades and you don't have the DRA, I would definitely use this on a kid that you're wondering about. And then in the lower grades, it's really great. If you don't have the DRA, you can use it. But if you want more information and the DRA isn't giving you enough information, I definitely would use this. It's helped me to get a lot more information about some kids that I'm pretty confused about. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. I know this was a long video, and bear with me. I'm going to do another video probably tomorrow for the students that are going to be giving the early literacy assessments to their students. So watch out for that. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.